The numbers are looking good, but you take a look at how visitation has been in Macau, that has actually slowed this year. We're talking about falling to about 76% of COVID 2019 levels. What do you think are the reasons behind that? And what do you think casino operators need to do more to boost tourism?
Well, I guess, in terms of numbers, we're seeing that probably in May, figures have a little bit slowed down a bit. But in fact, we're still on target to hit probably 33 million by the end of this year. Last year was 28 million, so obviously it's not yet up to 2019 levels, but at least, things are going in the right direction. And in terms of expenditure, we're seeing that besides, obviously you've talked about, gaming receipts, hitting very, very good results. But at the same time, non-gaming spending is also going up. So we're seeing, I would say that, besides gaming, which people talk a lot about in terms of Macau, we're also, going in the right direction in terms of non-gaming activities as well as expenses. So we are on track in terms of our diversification strategy, and hopefully, going forward, we will not just talk about Macau in terms of gaming, but also non-gaming.
Yep, Helena, to your point, I think you bring up a very important and salient trend that we're starting to see, not just in Macau, we're seeing that in Hong Kong, we're seeing it in many places where tourists, anecdotally, but many examples of this, are starting to spend more on experiences than big ticket items. And I'm wondering, is that something you're seeing more pronouncedly in Macau? What are people spending on, if that is the case as well? And do you see that continuing?
Well, interestingly, in the surveys, coming up, during the last year and now, we're seeing that a lot of the money goes in terms of shopping. I guess about half of the non-gaming expenses actually go into shopping. And then the second would be in terms of accommodation, and then third, food and beverage. So these are really the items that people are spending on. Obviously, there are a lot more things to do now in Macau, after the new gaming licenses were issued. They were, all the 6 operators are charged with the with the responsibility to actually invest heavily in terms of non-gaming activities. You're seeing a lot more of performances, a lot more on cultural activities, and a lot of sports activities actually happening in Macau. And obviously, we are investing very, very heavily in terms of attracting international visitors. We are seeing gradually more flights coming in. I've just been in Korea last week, and obviously in July we will see an additional carrier, Korean Air, flying to Macau. Air Macau itself is also adding international flights as well. So I guess there's there are a lot more opportunities going forwards, but we have to work hard, obviously, to get the visitors. It's not like before. You can just put up an advertisement and then people start thinking about your destination. They will come. Right now, people are actually looking more in terms of content. We have to tell more about the destination. We have to give them reasons to come to your destination. And so there's a lot more work to do now.
Yeah, you mentioned more work to do. I'm just wondering, a lot of the sort of non-gaming offerings have been done by the 6 casino operators. What exactly is the government doing? Because a lot of it has these big projects are done by gaming licenses, not so much the government. So beyond just airport capacity, what more are you working on now?
Well, I think, the government is also investing in a lot of different activities. It's not that, the 6 license holders are doing more activities. It's really because of the government actually, obliging them to do a lot more activities as well. As you would know that, under the new gaming licenses, which started last year, all the 6 gaming operators are required to actually invest. And they have a commitment to the government in order to invest in non-gaming activities in order to get their gaming licenses. So a lot, all these activities also have to be approved by the government every year. So I guess there is a lot of say in terms of the government as well. The government also launched a diversification strategy as of November last year, which requires that going forwards we are engaging in what we call the 1+4 strategy. One, which means integrated, tourism, obviously gaming plus tourism activities, and then we have 4 additional areas which the government would like to see developments going into. Obviously, we're talking about modern finance, we're talking about technology, we're talking about wellness. We're also talking about a very big area, which is actually meetings and conventions plus sports and culture. So there is a lot of direction that the government is giving out, to steer the destination towards a more diversified portfolio going forwards. Obviously, we are also doing our own activities. We are utilizing our strengths. One, as obviously we are Historic Center of Macau is UNESCO World Heritage. On the other side, we are also investing heavily in terms of food activities because we are also a UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. So going forwards, we would definitely use more of these strengths of Macau, and with the recent visit of a high-level government official from China, we are also, we've also a new responsibility to actually bring Macau forwards as a international metropolis, which we call the new golden calling card of Macau.
Yeah, Helena, I was joking with some of my friends. I would give up some members of my family for one of your fantastic and delicious pork chop buns. That's banter aside. Banter aside, I want to understand where the tourists are coming from. So we know mainland China is a very big feeding market. We know Guangdong.
Yes.
The province itself is, I think, about a third of your visitor numbers. Where else are you seeing the sources of flow starting to pick up? And also, where are things starting to soften? Because you are also having to deal with regional competition. Philippines, for example. I think Thailand and Japan are coming up with their own integrated resorts at some point.
Well, I guess it's not just competing on the gaming markets, but it's also competing on leisure as well as meetings and conventions altogether. So it is a very competitive environment out there. I think at this point in time, we're seeing that the international visitation is coming up gradually. Our target for this year would be 2 million visitors from international markets, which means, taking out mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And so we are on track right now. I think we should hit more than 2 million this year. And we are hopeful that by next year, end of next year, we should be back to the 3 million mark. Which means, probably, the 2019 levels. We are seeing a softening of the big group markets, which last year, I should say, 2019, before the pandemic, we have more or less like 8 million people who declared that they come in excursion groups. Big, tour groups. But last year, the number is only about 1.2 million, which means, the market is changing into smaller groups, demanding more, I would say, personalized services, as well as, more, I would say, immersive experiences or family experiences. So the market has also, the trade also has to re-engage themselves or really do a little bit more in terms of these kinds of new markets. And we are seeing that, gradually people are realizing that. And then obviously the product itself is also more nowadays geared towards the smaller family and also family and friends, kind of experiences.
And we've also seen China easing some of these travel permits to Macau. One example is Hengqin, right? Anyone that attends a tour or conference or exhibition in Hengqin Island, they're allowed to enter Macau multiple times. Can you tell us more about the opportunities when it comes to this island? And what of some of the casino operators, what sort of feedback have they given you so far?
Well, I guess Hengqin as of 2021 is a new development area, which is, I would say, administered together between Macau and also Guangdong. So it is a completely new arrangement between ourselves and, our friends across the border. And it's a very, very special area, which the entire strategy is really to support the diversification strategy of Macau as well. So we're working very closely with Hengqin, and with the new policy, which has come into place just recently, obviously tour groups are able, when we're talking about tour groups, if they're as little as 2 persons, they can actually come multiple times, between Macau and Hengqin within 7 days of their their stay. And so this also opens up opportunities in terms of activities that we can do together with Hengqin, or we can also tap into the hotel market in Hengqin as well. We have around 48,000 rooms licensed in Macau right now, which is also better than 2019. At that, 2019 we had only about 41,000 rooms. So we do have new room inventory. But at the same time, we see that there is possibility that to also utilize the rooms around. I think they have around 10,000 rooms across the border in Hengqin, and we can also utilize their other activities. Say, for example, the Chime Long Resort, because the problem with Macau right now is that we don't have enough land. We cannot host a very big theme park. So we can also utilize the theme parks and also other theme activities across the border in Hengqin to better extent. Because previously you can only come once into Macau, so it's very difficult to actually fit everything into your one stay. So with multiple possibilities, now we can actually plan our itineraries better, and we can also utilize for MICE groups. You can actually plan how you can spread your group of people between Macau and Hengqin, and also utilize better the resources on both sides. So I guess it actually would work to the benefit of both sides. This year, we're also seeing that mainland China has also opened 10 new cities for individual travel into Macau and Hong Kong. So now we are actually trying to utilize more of these possibilities. Not all of them have direct flights into Macau, but I guess even working together with the Greater Bay Area, especially Hong Kong, especially Guangzhou Airport as well as Zhuhai Airport, I guess there are a lot of possibilities to strike multi-destination tours.